Why settle for skinny journals when you can give yours a serious glow up? Enter tab binding. If you're anything like me and you love a chunky journal, then this is the video for you. Welcome. I'm Ingrid Carlsen and I am so glad that you're here. I hope this video inspires you and blesses you. We are going to be talking about tab binding, and if you've watched my previous tab binding tutorials, then you know they're usually made using tape. But today we are going to create a kind of hinge system using some cardstock, and it's really going to allow you to decorate more, add more ephemera, and I love that, and I hope you do as well. I'm going to start off by picking out the papers that I want. In this case, I'm going to pick out 4 different types of materials. I'm going to use this garment tag, also a note card that has grid on it, which was only one-sided, so I glued 2 together to make it double-sided. A piece of cardstock paper that I cut and then just layered with some old book page, and lastly an envelope that I glued down and then cut just the top off to allow a pocket. I'm going to use some of my stains and sprays that have been unfortunately hiding in a cabinet for way too long, and if you're anything like me and you've had supplies that you haven't been using, then today's the day to pull them out and to get your hands a little dirty and just have fun and play. I'm going to use this old packaging that I have and put some of the paint down as well as just a little spritz of water. And this allows just the most beautiful kind of watercolor effect on your pages. It's a really great way to distress your papers without having to fully commit to a solid color, and it just adds a lot of charm and whimsy. Tab binding has been one of my favorite types of binding, and I've used it a lot. And if you've been with my channel, then you've seen me use it a lot. But what I didn't love about it is that regular tab binding that is done with tape just doesn't allow for your journal to keep growing. And I love layering. And so that's a problem for me. So with this style, it is going to give me the ability to layer more, to just collage more, create more. And for me, that is always a positive. I think that the next time that I do this, I would even make these little hinges a little bit bigger so that maybe I can add even more. I don't know if there's a limit to that. I struggle with that sometimes when I make spines, that I make them too big, but so far I filled them all, so maybe they're not too big. Once my papers have these beautiful pinks and purples on them, then I'm going to take a little bit of the Heidi Swap Color Shine in gold, and you might not even be able to get this product anymore. A lot of my stuff is years and years old, and if you can't, it's okay. You can use some regular gold paint, but I think that just a little touch, or maybe a lot of touch of gold, is beautiful, and it just really elevates every project. Once these are completely dry, we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch up every single one of these 4 papers. I'm going to use straight stitching as well as some decorative stitching and some zigzag stitching. But if you don't have a sewing machine, this part is completely optional. You could hand stitch some thread on the edges, or you can even do some faux stitching with a marker. I think that these are all beautiful options. And if you want to experiment that with me, leave me a comment down below and we can do a project with that for sure. But at this point, I want to ask you for a favor. I want to ask you about the channel. And I've done this one time before, and I think that it really helped out. And so I want to ask you again. I want to know what type of videos you enjoy more. And I want to preface this by saying that there is absolutely no wrong answer. Do you like the videos to be shorter, like what I was doing a few weeks ago, that are between like 5 and 10 minutes? Do you like videos that are this length, which are maybe more like 10 to 20 minutes? Or do you like long form videos that show all of the processes with minimal cuts? And if you answered the third one, will you please let me know if you like it to be chatty or if you just want to see the process? I really appreciate your feedback because this is our channel together, and I want to make sure that you love the content as much as I love creating it. I also, as you just saw, ended up taking some distress stain and just going over the edges of the papers. This is really beautiful and again could be done with a watercolor, but I think it gives the edges a worn look without it getting muddy or too dark or brown. This next step is going to be probably the most technical, but don't worry, I'm slowing down the video so that you can get a good look at what I'm doing. I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper because the length doesn't really matter because we're going to be cutting these down into like little squares. I'm going to start off by scoring at 1/2 inch and then the next 2 notches. And then I'm going to measure out from the last notch another 1/2 inch, and that's where I'll cut it down. So I have a 1/2 inch, then 2 score lines, and then another 1/2 inch. Those 1/2 inches are going to be the spots that are going to be glued down to your pages, and that's going to be the hinge part. Then the inside score lines, that is going to be your gusset. That's going to allow your, I guess let's call these mini spines to expand. So that's where I was saying that if you wanted your spine to be bigger, then you would add more notches there. So maybe 4 notches, and that would give you more room to expand. You could also even be strategic and add different widths of binding throughout. So if you know that you're going to add maybe a pocket or tags to a certain page, then you can make that binding a little bit bigger. And this is so customizable. Then I'm going to measure and cut at 1 3/4 inches. That's what I thought looked best for the size of pages that I have, but again, make that fit your project. I love the idea of this project because it is expandable and you can continuously add to this even after you're done. So I'm going to lay down the pieces, even though I'm not going to use those last 2 pieces, but I'll show you why. I'm going to add glue to one of the 1/2 inch spots, and I'm going to figure out about what is halfway point and put that piece down. Once the glue has semi-dried or it has a good adhesion, then I'm going to just put that down and grab my next piece of paper. On this one, I'm going to do the same process that I just did, except with the 2 tabs, and each of the tabs is going to go either one above and one below that center tab. So I'm just putting it next to it so I can gauge about where I want them. This process does not have to be exact, but what I will say is that you don't want the tabs to overlap. And as long as you're keeping them within the distance so that they're not overlapping, you're going to be fine. Then what I'm going to do is once I have the two tabs on my next piece, I'm going to flip it over. And remember that first piece that we had on the garment tag? On the part where it's a 1/2 inch, I'm going to add some glue on that. And then I'm going to add my second sheet of paper right there. And that is going to be the little hinge. I find that it's easier to work with it this way and laying the paper down on the hinge instead of the other way around, but do whatever feels more natural to you. Then I'm going to repeat the same process. Now with this one, we need to add one tab. So I'm going to attach the tab first, and then I'm going to flip it over and attach the other two tabs from the previous paper. And you keep doing this. Now, I will give you a little tip here, and that is if you don't like the wobbliness of the tab binding, what I would suggest is that instead of doing a 1-2 tab method, that you go with 2 and 3. This will give you more sturdiness, and if that's something that you struggle with, that's what I would go with. And speaking of which, you can do any number of tabs just depending on how big your pages are or how big your tabs are. So really this is such a customizable project, and I really love that about it. The other thing is that I love the versatility of sitting down and creating something in one swoop. And we've talked about this in the last few videos about sitting down and being able to create something in one sitting. There's that instant gratification. There's also not that pressure to finish a full journal. And with this, it's really everlasting because you can keep adding pages even after you're done with it. There is no end unless you decide there's an end. And so this is a great journal to stick up on your shelf, and when you have a few minutes, add another tab or two, attach it, and decorate that page, and you can be done in just a few minutes. Now, I decided at the last minute to add an extra page, but instead of having it be part of the binding like I've done before, I'm going to have it go in and be a flip out. And if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I absolutely love flip outs. So this was a fun surprise. I think I really love the whimsy of that, of not knowing that it's going to go in instead of out. I'm going to take some cardstock and layer it with some printed paper, and if you don't have this kit, it's completely free for you. Just look down in the description below and get your copy and create something pretty today. I'm going to finish it off by staining it with that distress stain, and I think that it came out so pretty. Oh, also I added some stitching on the edge, which just ties in with the rest of the sheets. Tab binding really lends itself to so many different style variations. You could have your tabs be fabric or lace, maybe some cheesecloth, vellum, some mulberry paper. I mean, the ideas are endless. And if you've done this with other things other than tape, or like I'm showing here, some cardstock, please let us know down in the comments below. And then I'm going to take the distress stain and I'm going to go over all of the tabs. this really gives it a warm feel. You know, if you have an old document or something that has been around for a while, you're going to see that where the majority of the wear and tear is going to come from is those hinge spots. So I like doing this after you've already assembled it because it really attaches and the ink soaks in the pieces that have been folded and unfolded, and it really gives it an authentic look. And just like that, look at how adorable our little book already is becoming. Now I'm going to leave you so that you can see the design process. I'm going to decorate the front page or my cover, and I'm going to let you watch it. I'm going to do very minimal cuts so that you can see the process of me picking out papers. I feel like sometimes when I create videos for time's sake and I cut a lot of the um, deciding process out, it kind of makes it look like I've picked the perfect piece every time. And that is not necessarily the case. There's times where it comes together quickly and times where it takes me a little longer. So I wanted to leave the full process in there for you to be able to see how I work. I also want to thank you so much. So much. I want to thank you from seriously the bottom of my heart for all of your thoughts and your prayers and all of your comments. They have meant the world to me. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes, that you have been the biggest blessing in my life. And I thank you. I want to also remind you today that your voice matters. It deserves to be heard. You deserve to shine. And in case you were feeling like it didn't, I want to assure you today that it does. You are beautiful, you are strong, and you are loved unconditionally. Until next time, love you. Bye.